I happen to possess a digressive nature. Normally, when you hear a tale, it's told in a manner suited to the teller. In some cases, it could be a chap named Homer. In this case, it is I. Yes, well, I suppose I should start by introducing myself.
Not so close.
I am Lord Charlie Mordecai.
The script and the film are based on, there's a book called the Mordekai Trilogy by this guy, Kirill Bonfiglioli. It was a book that I'd read years before, a friend of mine had given to me. And, you know, one of those books that makes you laugh out loud. It's just so beautifully irreverent and insane. But it's one of those stories you're thinking, it translates to cinema only if you go to the extreme.
Ah, shut! What does that even mean? It won't disturb you. I've got bloody balls. 10% is destroyed! Oh!
What drew me to the character more than anything was the challenge to make this guy who is a little bit shady, you know, he's most definitely a con man.
Well, I think when I'm sitting there like this, I can go like almost too afraid. It's like it's so beautiful. I just, as he's touching me, it's just like.
But I think in that first moment, I think you kind of do, and we'll see when we get around on you. But
also, that's going to sell it too, right?
yeah, we're doing a whoosh. But I think you're like, and then she looks at it. I wonder. Yeah, exactly. I wonder. There's a holy shit.
I suppose that for me as an actor, it was challenging in terms of playing a character who could be, you know, somewhat dubious, you know, and has a relationship with himself that is unique. It is a sort of blatant narcissism, and it is unapologetic. It's a snappy, witty, irreverent wonderland, playing Charlie Mordecai.
Art dealer, accomplished fencer, fair shot with most weapons. Abstemious in all things except food, drink, tobacco, and talking. Loved and respected by all who know me slightly. And this bit of magic is my moustache.
My feeling on Charlie Mordecai is his thoughts are very pure in a sense to him, honest in a sense to him. He's able to sort of fit his truth, even though it's not really truth, into the situation without ever thinking about what anyone else might be thinking.
But when the Allies captured Goering, out of my way,
he just bulls his way in a very pure yet somewhat ignorant, though clever at the same time, knowing at the same time.
I've never quite gotten used to unremarkable champagne, you know. I feel like a few passages deleted from the Book of Job.
So there's a whole lot of flavors, you know, in this film, and especially with regard to characters, you know, the Gwyneth Paltrow's interpretation of Joanna was absolutely just perfect, you know.
I think this is kind of an ode to the screwball comedy. I mean, it's funny, I do these Iron Man movies, and we have a little bit of that, and you know, it's kind of like a modern day screwball comedy, but this really takes it to another level, like the Preston Sturges kind of comedy.
She got it. She got the timing in something like this.
They have a scene where, you know, they've been apart, and he's grown this mustache, and she's come home, and she's appalled by it. But she loves him so much, and they have a scene where, you know, she tries to get past it, but she can't. She cannot get past it, and she has. It almost makes me throw up.
This thing that's come between us.
I know, darling.
Steady yourself. I beg of you, darling, please.
Cut. Print that one.
Oh, God. It looks like a vagina on your face.
Surely you mean the pubic hair above a vagina.
Like that.
Yeah. No, this is good.
On set, filming that scene was categorically the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. To get through that scene without breaking, I mean, I think I ruined 15 takes. It was terribly unprofessional, but it was so fucking funny.
It's difficult for me too, you know. This thing that's come between us.
I know, my darling. Oh, no, steady.
It is piss your pants funny. Someone is going to start it, and then it'll just go from there.
Why can't you invest?
It's okay.
Okay.
No, it's me now.
Oh.
No, it's okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
You needn't worry yourself. I have things firmly in hand. Darling, you are killing me. Please.
It looks like you have a vagina on your face.
Sorry, I quit.
It looks like you have a vagina on your face.
Surely you mean the pubic hair above a vagina. I simply cannot get my head round that image.
Charlie.
However, now that you mention it, I am unable to steal my mind away from it.
Go stuff a mattress with that thing.
Should probably fall out that way, shouldn't I?
No, you're good. Cut. Great. Yes.
What was really fun about working with Gwyneth and Paul Bettany certainly, and Ewan McGregor. I mean, the beauty was this kind of film requires. I mean, timing is everything.
Just don't grab the railing. Well, I might move it later and then ready and action. Get out of there! Come on! Go! Get out of there!
It has to be funny, but if the characters know it's funny, you're dead. It's over with.
Goodness, that's awkward.
It's all right, sir. It's all right. It's just a cracked rib. Please, sir, if you wouldn't mind leaving out the back on foot.
I'm frightfully sorry about shooting you again, I should say.
It's all right, sir. It's all right.
Oh! I'm running you over a bit.
Please, sir, just leave.
With by myself.
I'll come and get you.
Pinky promise, pinky promise.
Huh?
Pinky promise.
All right. Now go.
Yeah.
Sir! I was making a movie with Johnny called Transcendence, and he gave me the books. He said, "Have you ever read these books?" And I said, "No." So he gave me all of the books, and I read them all with no idea that it was gonna become anything. And he said, I read them, and they're hysterical, brilliantly written books. He said, "I'm gonna make it into a film. Would you want to play Jock?" And I said, "Yeah." Why not? And it's it's nice. We have a nice working relationship. I mean, it's the third Paul Bettany movie that Johnny has ever made, so.
So I can have you and him in the same shot is the idea in the house and the fountain behind you.
Right.
And then when
I wanted a second sort of move forward when she sits next to him.
yeah,
As I
several
was trying to
stages of
delay
alarm.
it, right.
If you can make them in line,
In this, like,
yes,
yeah.
that will be great. And then you can get all the way up here. It's your wife. No, it isn't. And then
Most of my energy on set has been spent trying not to laugh.
Terribly sorry about shooting you again, I should say.
It's all right, sir.
And then, of course, the running you over bit.
Sir! Please,
What?
leave!
Oh, by myself?
And I've ruined a lot of footage laughing, as has David Kep, the director, who laughs through his own his own movie.
Oh, God. And as violent worldwide revolution. Right. Multiple attacks over the coming years. Countless lives are at stake.
Fingers crossed, chaps, you find it first. I'm off for a week.
Mordecai is the film. It's a caper movie with deep relations to the kind of Blake Edwards humor, teetering on farce.
It reminded me a bit of the sort of old Pink Panther movies from the 70s or something.
Fine art of fencing. Nothing fell. Alas, so have I. Essential part, every gentleman's education. And as a gentleman, I should warn you that my coup d'arrêt is still whispered about in hushed tones in many Sally's arm to this very day.
I come from a 80s comedy. That's sort of my textbook. That's my love. And a lot of those comedies sit in a dramatic structure. It's a great, compelling tale. And out of that compelling tale are these characters that allow us to subvert things along the way. And so the journey towards the ultimate goal, the quest, is a humorous, fun way, and that it's kind of in a silly way.
where's the rack? Oh, there it is.
Am I just coming straight out?
I would.
retreat.
Oh yes, it's this one.
You should see the other fellow.
The fact that you were as drunk as a fiddler's bitch in no way obviates the fact that you very nearly created an international incident. There's a humor in it that I hadn't really, seen on screen for a long time.
I will have you know that I am not an alcoholic. I am drunk, and there is a vast difference. In my defense, I was drugged. I was not drinking until the plane.
And in the car.
And a bit in the car.
And in the ambassador's residence.
And at the ambassador's residence.
And that, I suppose, ultimately, what I believed about Mordecai, the film, I believed that it was going to be, and I still believe, it's one of those films that rarely does an audience get a hold of something as hysterically funny. So bringing this to the screen with the likes of Gwyneth Paltrow and Ewan McGregor, Paul Bettany, and Olivia Munn, who was brilliant in the film as Georgina. All these characters sort of, it's like this, everything's coming together where they will eventually collide.
Ooh! I get you.
I don't care what goes down my throat, as long as you're attached to it.
Ooh, that's my bottom.
Is this whole dance routine where she's just being so seductive or trying to be seductive around Mordecai. I had to learn this routine, and we only had like an hour to learn this whole routine, this whole salsa routine with like spins and everything. And I buckled down and I learned it, and rightfully so, Johnny was like, Mordecai doesn't dance and he doesn't do anything.
That's not my bottom. It's my mustache, is it not? Score to Mordecai. Oh, where are we going now?
Georgina is just dancing and I'm writhing up and down, and really I'm doing a proper salsa dance with like rolls and spins. as he does nothing. I'm starting to channel all of the girls who go into clubs and just dance on tables, and they just think like, this is hot. I look amazing. This is really gonna get him. He's gonna love this. And it's just like, oh my gosh, stop. Oh my gosh, she's still moving. She's still wiggling. Like that's kind of what Georgina is doing.
The greatest thing for me as an actor in this was that timing is, like I was saying, very, very important. It's everything with a film like this. And they all got it, you know, and it was supremely executed by everyone. And at the same time, whatever lines would happen or whatever would happen in the scenes just out of nowhere, you know, everybody was very ready to go, you know, with that. If I threw something out there that wasn't in the script, they'd jump on it. So it was a really nice, hard-working cast, for sure, because getting your head around some of those scenes and a lot of that comedy. If the character knows it's supposed to be funny, if the actor knows it's supposed to be funny, you're dead, you know? And everyone knew exactly how to proceed.
167 Echo, take 3, hey Mark.
You know, it's meant to be a good time, so all I'm trying to do is make it sort of jolly and fun, right? Mordecai is, as you know, he's an aristocrat. He's very, almost whimsical. He sort of lucks into a lot of things, and whenever he gets into trouble, he's always had people around him to get out. So his nature is that he sort of feels as though things will always be okay no matter what happens. So that certainly pervades, you know, the music, or at least his theme.
You know, remarkably, this is not the first time I've shot John.
Sir, the switch. The switch, sir.
Oh, quite right. No time to dally.
So David Koepp, the director, he called me and he said, look, read the script, tell me what you think. I have some ideas. And as soon as I read it and called him, he says, look, I've been thinking about getting a combined sound. I love your music. I love Mark Ronson's music. I want to put the two of you together and tell me if you can, you know, work together, both of you. And of course, we hit it off perfectly. So the initial conversation though was about, well, even though it's not trend right now, I'm going to go ahead and write a great big tune, you know, for these guys. We're going to play him melodically, and we're going to, you know, do things that, in a funny way, we sort of departed from in film music lately. So, you know, one of the sort of great pleasures of the score is that we're getting to kind of mine material and sounds and instruments and things from the past and kind of find a new way of modernizing them and bringing them to the audience that we're actually showing this movie to now. So these were all things that I talked about with David, instrumentation from 60s caper movies and that sort of sonic world, and how do we bring that into something contemporary. And of course, you know, this is why he's thinking of Mark Ronson. It's also what he does too. So we got in a room together, and it was really almost instant. Like, okay, this is an interesting script. They hadn't shot the movie yet. What would the sounds be? What would the sonic world be? And we were already working before we decided we were going to work together. You know, what are the instruments? What are the musical language? You know, and where do we have a common ground? And where do we have things that, you know, I can do that he can't, and he can do that I can't? And that was, you know, it was very organic and quick. So, of course, the call from me to David Koepp after that is, yes, let's do this. Is fantastic, and Mark must have agreed too. So, Then Mark and I had agreed to, work in isolation a little tiny bit, because we all had our ideas. Let's just get very rough ideas and we get together next week, to play them for each other. And so I remember going over to his place and we were just sort of like kids jamming a little bit, you know what I mean? We were just like having a great time, having good fun. Because he had brought in all the instruments that he was thinking of. There's a farfisa organ and there's a clavinet and there's a bunch of guitars and his very particular amp set up and a drum kit and a bass, and we just started, because we're both multi-instrumentalists, just sort of trying things and tracking things and doing super rough demos, the roughest things you've ever heard.
It's almost like it sounds like Afrobeat, Mothership at like.
Just feeding off of each other, like, here's my few notes, here's your couple notes, and the next thing you know, that sort of magic thing about music creation happens. There's like a, there's you and there's him and there's the thing in between you, which is what becomes the music, and it becomes intangible, where one ends and the other begins. So, you know what I mean? It was a true collaboration in that sense. It's very symbiotic. One of the really interesting developments with the score was when we have a love theme, and Rose Eleanor Dougal wrote a song out of it. She's called it "Heart's a Liar." And in terms of the difference between film music and a song, I actually find them remarkably different, because what you're doing in a film score is you can only say it with the notes that you write. You know what I mean? You don't get to say it with words. That's one key tool that's not available to you. Songwriters have it, it's a gift. But as far as the way that this song, Heart's a Liar, was created, it actually was the love theme as you hear it in the movie, sent to the singer who actually sang on the love theme. She's doing some, not lyrics, but just some vocals. And she liked it. And she said, I think I can write a song. And so, of course, why wouldn't we try that? First thing I played, Mark, was what eventually became Mordekai's theme, but in a very different form. I had a great tune on a piano, right? And Mark had done something that was so similar in the musical language and so different in style that we went, hang on, there's our common ground. How do we merge these things? And it really took an hour. We just sat down and started, four hands on a piano, working on it. And the next thing we knew, we had actually the piece of music you hear right after the prologue when we fly from Hong Kong to London. That piece of music unchanged from what Mark and I had done in our very first meeting together. So Mark Ronson and I had very early discussions about what would the instrumentation be and what were the ideas behind it. And we quickly arrived at this idea that there would be for every sort of traditional aristocratic instrument that Mordecai might have in his sort of past, there would be a complementary modern instrument that either, you know, perverts it or gets merged with it or something like that. So we have a harpsichord at the same time as a clavinet, for instance, or some instruments which can be played kind of have a dual purpose. You can play a classical trumpet, you can play a jazz trumpet, you know, so we have a lot of this kind of like mirroring of two worlds where we're trying to get the sort of modern roguishness of who Mordecai is now and still give him a past, which is like, you know, he's a descendant of many lines of, you know, aristocracy, and he has this giant, you know, estate that he can no longer maintain. So that's there in the music. I think you'll find we invented harpsichord-driven aristo-funk, if you want to call it that, which was not a thing before us, I hope. Well, I'll tell you what, you know, this is my first time coming into the building here at Abbey Road. I don't know a musician who wouldn't dream of this. Do you know what I mean? So it's certainly exciting to wake up and come into the building and think, you know, I've flown in for the, you know what I mean? It's just, it's remarkable. The musicianship here is phenomenal. I think everybody already knows that. But the orchestra here is just unbelievable, and every single note has been played with passion and, you know, the built-up history and experience of these incredible musicians, you know. I think for a film like this, which is international, but it's concerning a British man, it's sort of appropriate, of course, to be recording here in England. It's just right, but you know, that's not the only reason to record here. You would record here whenever you could, I think. You know, it's a beautiful sounding room. It's extraordinary musicians, and you know, I can't say enough about it. It's been a red letter day for me. I think one of the sort of modern developments in music, and especially if you think of it from like the perspective of DJs and mashups and things like that, is there's an enormous amount of creativity in combining styles that you haven't heard before, or instruments. So, for instance, the clavinet and a harpsichord. You know, I don't know that I've really heard that before, and that works for this picture. And also, for instance, in the bathtub scene in the movie, you know, the melodic and musical content of that music is actually very 60s. The style has some 70s elements to it and some even more modern things. And so it feels like a combination of genres, you know, rightly so, I think. And that's actually one of the sort of techniques we were using. If you look at the way that the movie's shot and performed in some ways, it has an element of homage and it has an element of right now. And that's in the music, it's in the performances, it's in the set design. I think it pervades the structure of the whole film.